Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1978. The topic is nutrition, and the title is, This Can Change Your Life. One of my clients recently wrote in their journal, so all my clients have an online journal. It's a Google Doc. They can write in it 24/7. I'll respond in it. I usually aim for once a week. I'll try to respond more often as I can, but it allows me to do like Q&A. I can answer any questions they have. I can go through, if they're using a nutrition app, I log into their nutrition app. I look at it each day, give them feedback on daily selections for foods and, whether they hit their targets or not for calories and protein if we're tracking those things. Also, I do video reviews, and it's basically our communication kind of pipeline. Now, a client recently wrote in something that I wanted to share their thoughts and expand it to let people know that getting nutrition under control is often easier than people make it out to be. It's very easy in concept. It is challenging in application, but it's often still easier in application than what people think it is. So let's get into it. They wrote the following. I could cry happy tears right now. January 1st, I started a 90-day weight loss journal. And today, March 30th, is day 90. This was kind of fun because I didn't know they were doing that. Now, with this client, I've been working with them for a little while. And we have kind of daily targets that they aim for calories and protein and sugar. And our goal is to try to be as consistent as we can be. This client usually does actually a really good job with consistency, but they have a history of having kind of breaking from diets. They would maybe get triggered by a certain food. They ended up overeating it. They then felt like they lost the whole day, so they'd overeat the entire day. And then the next day they would starve themselves for feeling bad that they overate. And it would also, kind of like turn into that cycle. So they would typically have that struggle in the past, but they have been much, much, much more consistent over time. So it was interesting to hear that they had actually started a 90-day consistency journal on their own. So they said they started it January 1st, went to March 30th, and March 30th was day 90. They said I was 100% accountable for the entire 3 months, which was my goal. And actually, since December 1st, the only days I've been off plan was Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And that's pretty cool. She said she just hadn't started her journal in December, so she hadn't considered that part of the 90 days, but it's actually been 120 days that she's been doing this. Now, minus 2 days, because Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. She said, but I've lost 18 pounds since January 1st and 28 pounds since December 1st. I'm just so happy that after struggling for so many years, I pulled myself back together and got consistent. I am so happy. I finally feel like I put together my fit self again. I haven't felt this good about myself in years. So she summed it up. She said December 1st, she weighed 161 pounds. January 1st, 151 pounds. And then on March 30th, 132.7 pounds. So from 161 down to 132. Pretty awesome. Almost 30 full pounds. She continued, I will say the main thing that helped me is finally focusing on hitting my targets and not eating certain foods. So she focused on aiming for her daily targets, not focusing on specific foods. Previously, she thought there were healthy foods that she had to eat. And that became the problem when she couldn't get to those foods. So we had to change the perspective from these foods are healthy, these foods aren't. If I can't eat the healthy foods, I am unhealthy, I'm not going to make progress, everything's at a loss. So we had to change the mindset from specific food selection being the important factor to actually just hitting her targets, which was calories and protein. She continued. I used to be so triggered to binge if I wasn't able to have my ideal foods for the day. But being a grown adult with a full-time job, that's totally unrealistic. There's been plenty of days I had to eat more protein bars than I'd like or other snacky type foods, but I still hit my numbers for the day. I didn't worry so much about ideal foods. The foods I, in all caps, thought I needed to eat in order to lose weight. I tried to focus on healthy foods as much as I could, but if I couldn't, I realized that's okay. I cannot express how happy I am and how much this process has meant for me. I am finally me again, and I have been able to do it without having to have the perfect foods or the perfect schedule, which I never thought would have been possible. Thank you so much. So that was awesome. So I appreciate the thank you, but hell, thank yourself. You're the one who did it. So freaking awesome. I love getting to guide people through the process, but I can't do a damn thing. I wish I could do it for people. I'd be exhausted, but I'd be like, there's so many, I'd be happier, but at the same time than not, because I want them to do it for themselves. But at the same time, I often want to step in and just, you can see where people are kind of, missing certain things. You just want to do it for them, as much as you can, but you can't. So thank you to you. Thank you to you for doing it. I'm very happy for you. Now, I wanted to share that because it's a pretty profound response. Again, she said, I finally feel like I put my fit self together again. I haven't felt this good about myself in years. That's awesome. That is wonderful. That is life-changing. So I wanted to talk about, in order to have such a life-changing outcome, what did we do? What was the special sauce? What was the magic? As you'll find out, and as you're probably already aware if you've listened to any of my podcasts before, there is no special sauce and there is no magic. So what did we do? We focused on calories. Her calorie target per day was 1,550 to 1,750 calories. Now, it's a pretty small window. I typically will give people a bigger window, but she does like hyper-detailed stuff. So if it was up to her, I'd give her a singular calorie goal for the day, and there's no way I'd ever do that to somebody, but that's how detailed she would love to be. So me getting her to a 200-calorie window was a big ordeal. So that was a win for me. And then protein, we wanted 130 to 160 grams of protein a day. And then we actually had sugars in there, keeping them under 60 grams per day. One of the main reasons why was because she was worried that if she overconsumed sugars, it might spark her cravings. I was telling her that cravings are more so the result of inconsistent food intake. When you go through too long of a deficit, the body really wants to replenish that. So I said, if you're more consistent, the cravings will go away. However, if we're going to set a sugar goal, let's just aim for under 60. So the sugar goal was helpful, but it wasn't really the main driver of progress. The main drivers of progress was consistency in calories and consistency in protein. I then asked her to be mindful of having calories before she worked out. Sometimes she works out in the morning, sometimes she works out in the afternoon. Sometimes, the day, goes poorly and she has to work out at night. But if she works out in the morning, I asked her to not work out in a fasted state. That is not optimal for fat loss. So get some calories in before you work out. We talked about different options. And then eat more when you move more, eat less when you move less. So have higher calorie meals during your more active times, have lower calorie meals during your less active times. And that was it. Nutrition-wise, that's it. So we had a calorie target, protein target, sugar target, and then be mindful of eating food before you work out, and eat more when you move more, eat less when you move less. That's it. Those are the only rules, quote-unquote rules. It wasn't what you see here is food selection. It wasn't, these are good foods, these are bad foods. There was none of that. Now, if I went through her nutrition tracking app and I saw that she ate, 2,000 calories of Ho-Hos, I'm going to be like, first of all, 2,000 calories is too much. Second of all, Ho-Hos probably wasn't the best choice. If she only had 1,200 calories of Ho-Hos, I'd have told her she didn't eat enough that day. I'd be like, I'm not sure what you're, are you investing in the Ho-Ho company? Are you financially invested in them? Why are we eating so many Ho-Hos? But we actually would have under-eaten. I would have asked her to eat more food. So it wasn't what she ate, it was how much she was eating. Now I'm going to come back to this in a second, but I do want to make that point like painfully obvious, is that our focus was calories, protein, and consistency. Not food selection, not specific foods. Calories, protein, and consistency. And she freaking crushed consistency. We did exercise, by the way. I have a note here to mention that. She did 40-minute weight training workouts 4 times a week. Sometimes she would catch a 5th. And that was kind of a regular thing. That wasn't anything new that we added when we changed the nutrition parameters. So it wasn't really, it was definitely a component of success for us. But it wasn't like we'd made a change in exercise that created the change since December. Really, the entirety of the change from December came from just a change in mindset. Changing from specific foods being the target to calories, protein, and consistency. For consistency, she said she went 90 for 90 in 2024 so far since January 1st. But if we do go back to December, she was actually accurate with her numbers, her daily targets, for 118 out of 120 days. That is total badass. She should, I'm going to maybe find a medal and I'm going to send it to her in the mail. That is medal worthy. That is accomplishment, like pride, like absolutely double pat yourself in the back. That's freaking badass. 118 out of 120 days to hit your targets is freaking great. But what I want to point out is that necessary to get great results? Do we have to be perfect or damn near perfect? She's over 98% accuracy. Do you have to do that to get great results? No, you do not. It helps. Sure as hell helps, but it's not necessary. If we look at it, she lost 30 pounds, roughly 30 pounds, 29 or 28.3 or whatever, 30 pounds in 120 days. That's 30 pounds in just under 18 weeks. So almost 2 pounds a week. That's pretty awesome, right? That's a really good rate of loss. Now, little insight here before I continue, even though I probably should stay on topic, is we've been tracking her weight along the way, and there are moments of plateau. There were moments where she was like, hey, my weight really is, hasn't changed in the last two weeks. Do we need to change anything? I'm like, nope, you're fine, keep going. And that's just the way the body goes. The body will lose weight in plateaus and stages. It doesn't happen, just a nice, steady increment every day. Does not happen that way. Oh, that'd be so nice if it did. But it doesn't. There are about 4 million things that are related to or contribute to our daily body weight fluctuations, such as sodium intake, hydration, activity level, humidity. I mean, gosh, you name it. There's everything under the sun, literally, that impacts our daily body weight. So knowing that our body weight can fluctuate easily 1%, plus or minus 1% on a daily basis for no apparent reason that we can track. It's a whole bunch of combinations of reasons that we do know, but it fluctuates quite a bit. So 1% fluctuation, easy peasy, plus or minus every day. However, it's not uncommon to even have up to 2% of your body weight plus or minus. That's a 4% window of weight change every single day. So I want you to know that although she lost almost 2 pounds per week, it did not happen at almost 2 pounds per week. There were plateaus and stages. Now, say she would have gotten maybe only 100 out of 120 days within her targets. That's actually still pretty badass, by the way. But let's say instead of 118 out of 120, she only got 100 out of 120. Would she still have had the same results? The full, 30 pound? No. But she probably would have lost easily above 20, probably around 25 pounds. And 100 out of 120 days would be about missing 1 day a week. And that's actually doable for most people. Most people, they can get to being consistent 6 out of 7 days a week. Now, I have clients that range everywhere. I have clients that I don't know if they've ever, if they've missed a day in the last year, I'd be amazed. There are people who are that consistent. And it doesn't mean their life is consistent. It does not mean their life is easy. They would slap you in the face if they heard you say that. So they have a challenging life. They've just learned how to balance the chaos and the challenge, and they highly prioritize their nutrition, and they've practiced a long time. They've had a long time working through the kinks. And then I have other clients who struggle to even get to 50% of their days being on target, and they're actually under that. So when somebody can be consistent, how consistent is consistent enough? That's a good question. When someone can be consistent above 70%, meaning they can get 5 out of 7 days, 5 days a week, within their targets, they're going to get results. Could they get a little faster results if they were a little more consistent? Absolutely, and I would promote them to try for it. But 5 out of 7 days is enough. That's enough to get progress, to make progress. So that's the target that I usually promote people to aim for. If someone is struggling under 70%, I sure as hell do not ask them to go from that to perfect. I have never asked any of my clients to be perfect. They may have felt that I had that expectation, but I've never asked them. I've never verbally said it, and I've never joking, but I would never have made somebody feel that intentionally. 99.9% of the time, I have to tell people to calm down and quit beating themselves up so much. Even when I've had clients who compete in aesthetic sports and they got like IFBB pro cards or natural pro cards, they weren't perfect. People who got elite totals and powerlifting, they weren't perfect. I've helped people do modeling gigs. I've had a lot of fun over the years. I've helped professional athletes, Olympic athletes, almost forgot that, college sports athletes. No one is perfect. None of those people are perfect, even though they're at really high level. They're still not perfect, and I would never expect them to be. I would, my goal is to just help them, figure out the answers that are holding them back. I don't place any expectations on them. My goal is to give them guidance. And as a recommendation of guidance, 70% consistency is a really important spot. It's kind of like the turning point. When somebody can be consistent 70% with calories and protein, both of them at one time, so not just 70% consistency at calories and 70% consistency at protein, but not always on the same days. So I'm meaning like you're hitting all of your targets 70% of the time, you're going to see progress. So that's what we aim for. So if somebody's under that, I just ask them, hey, what can we do from last week or last month that gets us a little bit better this week or this month? That's it. What gets us forward? What moves us forward? What gets us progress? If someone actually states that perfection is their target, and I can show you this, I've written in their journals, don't do that. I actually tell them not to do that. Perfection sustained over time isn't possible. So this client just did 90 days in a row. Badass, love it, crush it. I've had different consistency targets for myself over times. I did 10-month diet one time where I didn't miss a single thing over 10 months. Not a single meal, nothing. 10 months, perfect. I've had other goals. I drank a gallon of milk a day for 2 years when I was younger, trying to gain weight, and I literally did it every single day for 2 years, a gallon of milk. I've had, I don't even know anymore, a million and one things. I've tried to work out every day for a year, and I've done that multiple years of my life. So that's been a fun goal. So I understand the pressure and the desire to be perfect, but certain things are easier and harder than other things to be perfect with. So for example, working out every day, that's actually easier. And I can say that because I've done it. So I have first-hand experience, so I can talk trash on it if I want to. Working out every day is easier than hitting your macros every day. Like, without any doubt, and if anybody's ever argues it, I would say try both, and I'd tell you right now that you're going to do a lot better with exercising every day than you would with hitting every single meal of every single target for every single day for a whole year. So perfection sustained at certain times in certain seasons of life can be done. So this client did it for 90 days. And actually they did 118 out of 120 days. We're just going to call that perfection because it's damn near is. So they did it for 120 days. But are they going to be able to do that for the next 120? And the next 120 and the next 120? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, we don't know what's coming our way in life. We don't know what's going to happen, good, bad, or anywhere in between. So we can't always predict the future. Our goal is to just control whatever we can in the moment and hope that the moments stay within our control as much as possible. But perfection sustained isn't possible. So therefore I ask them not to aim for it. I want to, and I emphasize to remind them, and hopefully if anybody's listening to this now, reminding you or telling you for the first time, 70% passes. 70% is enough. I am not a big fan of, good enough is what you should aim for. I would definitely aim for whatever you can do right now to the best of your abilities and then continue to improve upon your abilities over time. But the reason why it's helpful to remember that 70% is enough is when somebody sets perfection as their target and they miss, they tend to throw away the entire process. Meaning they were at 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%, then all of a sudden they drop to 93% or 97.6% or even 80%. And they just want to throw everything away. No. 70% is still passing. So if you're at 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, boom, you make a mistake. You're still over 70. Keep going. There is one of my clients. We've been working together for a long time. And I send clients new training programs on average for most situations every 4 weeks. We've been working together, oh my gosh, I think since 2017. I think it was something like 70 programs that I have written that client. 70 individual, brand new monthly programs for the time that we've been together. And I think it was last summer, I sent a program and I made a mistake within the program. Like an editing mistake. And he asked me for clarity on it. And I said, dagnabbit, yes, you're right. Thank you for pointing that out for me. I'm glad that we got that sorted out so that we were going to do the right things on that day or whatever that exercise was. I think I accidentally left the last month's squat numbers in rather than updating them or something because I had a system. But it was something like that. And they said, hey, don't worry about it. They said, you've never made a mistake before. And my response was, but I have now. So I am unhealthy, mentally and emotionally. So when I encourage other people to not be that way, it is firsthand experience of knowing how intense perfection can be and how paralyzing that can turn into. So now I have this percentage chart in my mind when I continue to send this client programs. Maybe I drop 69 out of 70, whatever the percentage of that is. Let's say it's 96 point something percent. Now every program I send him, it's a little better. It goes from maybe 96.6 to 96.8. Then 97, then 97.2, then 97.4. It'll never be 100% ever again. Ugh. That frustrates me. It is absolutely ridiculous that frustrates me. But it frustrates me. It annoys me. So I don't like those things. But the reason why I point that out is I understand the desire to be perfect, so much so that I can't stand making an editing mistake on a single client's program out of all the clients I am fortunate and grateful enough to work with. And the fact that I sent them 70-some, it's been 7 years, and I made one mistake, and I'm mad at myself now. So I do understand the desire to be perfect. And I'm not saying you shouldn't try to be your best. But what I am saying is when you make a mistake, don't throw away everything. So just because I messed up that client's program once doesn't mean I should be I'm a piece of crap trainer. I should quit and never train anyone ever again. I don't believe that's true. Hopefully no one I've ever worked with would think that of me. And that's what I want you to remember is you are not a piece of crap and you should not throw yourself away just because you make one mistake. It's actually okay as long as you stay above 70%. You're still making progress. Don't lose sight of that. Way off on a tangent, but hopefully that was helpful. The reason why I titled the podcast this way, This Can Change Your Life, other than it being a possible cliffhanger to get more people to listen to it, is because what the client wrote in the second paragraph, which I'm going to read for you again. I'm going to read 2 lines of it that I've highlighted. First line, I will say the main thing that helped me is finally focusing on hitting my targets, not focusing on specific foods. And the third line, the second line, the second tip I want to take away, the final line from that paragraph, I tried to focus on healthy foods as much as I could, but if I couldn't, I realized that's okay. Those 2 things can set you free. Those 2 things can change your life. If you have struggled with diets, this absolutely will change your life. Changing your focus from specific foods to just hitting your targets, your calories and your protein, and doing it consistently can change your life. Focusing on healthy foods as much as you can. But if you can't, and you still hit your targets, that's okay. That absolutely will change your life. Absolutely. Eat healthy when you can. Choose the healthiest option you have available. But the main focus is the targets, the calories, the protein, and consistency. It's eating the right amount, not the right things. Any food is better than no food. You should definitely aim to try to eat the healthiest food you can. And healthiest is whatever allows you to hit your targets, whatever digests well, whatever you actually like the taste of, whatever you can be consistent with. That's how I would kind of define food selection, proper food selection. So don't just eat junk. But changing our focus from specific foods being the be-all, end-all, the good versus the bad, the marker of success. From changing that to, am I eating the right amount of calories? Am I not eating too little? Am I not eating too much? Am I eating enough protein? Because that's most people's issue, not too much, just enough. And can I do that every day? Or as many days as I can? Can I at least do it more days than I've been doing it? If that is your new focus, it will change your dieting experiences. It can leave a lot of questions. Like, should I have rice versus pasta versus potatoes? Sometimes in the day, one of those choices might be a little better than another. But in the grand scheme of things, who cares? Eat whichever you like. Eat whichever you like the taste of. Eat whichever digests well. Eat whichever is easier to cook, easier to prep, easier to clean up. If it gets you to your calories, if it gets you to your protein for the day, eat it. If you're consistent with calories and protein, you will make progress. And then within that consistency, you can work to find food choices that better match your taste preferences, better match your financial abilities to afford, better match your cooking skills, your preparatory time. You can change food selection for a lot of reasons, not just what's quote-unquote healthy or not, what's convenient, what's cost-effective, what's efficient, and what can you get into your life, what can you blend into your life. I have reviewed and looked at blood work for, oh my gosh, probably thousands of clients at this point, like multiples of hundreds, probably over 1,000 for sure, more than that. But when you focus on calories, protein, and being consistent with that, you can properly manipulate body composition and overall weight. Meaning you can reduce weight if that's the person's goal, and you can reduce body fat if that's the person's goal. And you can do that with just focusing on calories, protein, and consistency, and in a manner that improves blood markers over time. If you look at most reasons why blood markers are in the unhealthy ranges, it would be due to obesity or being overly fat. A lot of people focus on food selection and say, if I eat this, it'll bring my triglycerides down. If I eat this, it'll bring my cholesterol down. Sure, those are good things. Great. But you also have to eat this when you say that, like the part of eating this food. It still has to be in the right amount. It still has to be consistent. Just eating it on a Tuesday because you got your blood results and then forgetting about it by Thursday doesn't do diddly for you. Doesn't do anything. Eating lower cholesterol foods to bring your cholesterol down sounds great, but if you're still overeating or inconsistently eating or still not getting enough protein, if you're still doing all these other things wrong, quote unquote wrong, then low cholesterol foods isn't going to solve the problem. It might solve a percentage of the problem, but it ain't going to solve the whole problem. A lot of, and I would venture to say and be okay with saying the majority of, blood marker issues can be corrected or at least significantly impacted in a positive way by simply being consistent with calories and protein on a daily basis. The specific food choices we make can help the process. But the main thing that truly matters the most is consistency in calories and protein, eating sufficient amount. Make sure you don't overeat them. Make sure you don't undereat them. Eating the right amount. And then being consistent. If you want to know the right amount of calories and protein for you, you can do that for free on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. You can go to free nutrition education on that page. The first document is create your own nutrition program, and it will tell you what your calories and protein should be, and then some suggestions on distribution, the timing of those throughout the day, so that we have a better experience for your food and digestibility and energy levels and whatnot. That's free on the website. We also have $100 a month nutrition coaching where I'll just tell you what to do and help you figure it out along the way. I have live nutrition classes now that I'm starting. I've been doing a couple of them kind of private for facilities that I help. I'll get their trainers all together at one time and we kind of talk about nutrition all at one go, which is really fun. I've actually really enjoyed that, so I wanted to start doing that with just regular people. So that's an option as well. It's just small groups of 5 people. I teach nutrition to the 5 people. We go through some Q&A and they leave at the end of the day knowing their calories, protein, timing, food selection questions they have, anything they need. And that's all included in those live nutrition classes. There's a lot of opportunity for you to learn whatever you want to learn. It's free on the website. You can get one-on-one coaching or you can get group education. It's all there. But I hope that if you've struggled at all with nutrition or if you have continued questions, I hope that you reach out through any of those services or even the free thing and find an answer so that way you can move forward. The things I want to leave you with today are, again, those 2 statements from the client. I will say the main thing that helped me is finally focusing on hitting my targets, not focusing on specific foods. And the second statement, I tried to focus on healthy foods as much as I could. But if I couldn't, I realized that's okay. Focus on calories, protein, and consistency. You will make significant and great progress. And it absolutely can change your life. If you need anything, please reach out on the website, www.brutalirongym.com. On the bottom of the homepage is a contact form. You can send me any questions you need. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. If you like the podcast, please consider donating to support the podcast, which you can do on our website. Also, if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.